And now we are happy to start with our first topic, which is social distancing on board, people counting and distance monitoring. And everybody knows that especially cruise and passenger segment was heavily affected by Corona situation. Ships have been moored, some of them scrapped, but now business is starting slowly back again. But in the meantime, administrations, ports, countries, flag states, makes new hygienic concepts on board a ship mandatory. And here we have a new solution and for hygienic concepts to minimize the risk of infection.
Exactly. SIG offers here a brand new solution for cruise ships, owners, operators and ports, which will be demonstrated by Tiberius Pischke and Tibor Mellert now. So welcome Tiberius, welcome Tibor. What are you going to present and where are you actually standing right now?
Hello you two. Can you hear us?
We
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, we are actually just a few meters away from you, also on the SIG campus. And we are happy to present today our two social distancing solutions from SIG. One solution up here, our people counter, that's used for people to be known if they are inside the room, outside, the number. You can do also some histograms and other cool stuffs with that device. And our other solution is the distance guard, which is also a very interesting solution based on LiDAR technology to help us keep our social distancing as the name indicates. So distance guard is measuring how far people are actually apart from each other. And this solution is based on a so-called LiDAR sensor. LiDAR is basically a distance sensor which is also laser-based, time of flight technology, laser sending out, coming back from an object, and the time is measured of the laser that has been around. With LiDAR, this laser is then rotated on a plane, and by that we can get a really good profile of a situation. This is a good example for a really small and rugged 2D LiDAR sensor, which has just one plane, but there are other solutions with several planes that can also do a lot of different stuff. Regarding the distance guard, this is something where we said it is very important that it's not people just having all the time to focus on markers on the floor. It's much more important that we can move around more freely again, we can talk with each other, but sometimes need to remind it, okay, we have at the moment a pandemic situation, we should get too close to each other, and therefore with this little device that can be very unobtrusive, we can very easily distinguish and measure actually how far are people standing apart. How does this work in detail? We have a little overview of the GUI that is coming directly with the device. And with this device, you can see now two persons standing in a room. The background is blanked out. And around the persons is this blue bubble or circle, which indicates how far they need to be apart from each other. And if we now run this short clip, we will see that people, when they get closer to each other, their current minimal distance will be reduced. And if the two circles intersect, the light turns red, which means the social distance is breached. And only when the people are moving apart from each other again, then we will have this distance corrected again. Another indicator that you see is the capacity level. So at the same time, we measure how many people are actually in the room. In this case, it's 2. And for that, it's really possible to also set within a certain area. So there may be a room, and we have a capacity within a room. But we say, okay, there's maybe an area that needs to specifically supervised. And then you can set for this area also a maximum level of people that should be on this plane. And this is basically what is indicated with the second measuring technology. All of this can be given out as a digital signal, which I have here also with this indicator light that you will see soon, and also connected to a network so that you can easily supervise everything from one room. For example, you have maybe 10 devices, 10 areas, and just one person needed, not 10 persons, to supervise everything. And you can immediately see if a place gets too crowded or if there's a specific area where people often breach this very important, for example, 1.5 meters, and then also think about implementing countermeasures. But as mentioned before, we also want to give you a live demonstration. And therefore, Tiberius is now entering and indicating exactly how far 1.5 meters are. So you can see as soon as he's moving in, the light turns red and the distance is too close. And with the distance guard, you don't need any markers on the floor, because no matter how people move in, the distance will turn red when the people are getting too close. That's just a very brief introduction to this device, but where could you use it basically? So there are often maybe launch areas where you don't want to put fixed barriers on the floor. People can move in just as they want to. There's not a fixed line, and then it's not helpful to put a specific number of markers on the floor and tell them, oh, that's the way, the only way you're allowed to go now. With this solution, you really can allow them to still move freely around. You don't have to adapt something. For example, if you say 1.5 meters is maybe a bit too close, we have now new regulations. We are advanced to 2 meters. That's just one mouse click away. And at the same time, you still have a very big advantage with LiDAR. That is, for once, it's very robust against ambient light, other influences, compared to cameras, for example. And now coming finally to the highlights again of this device, it's fully anonymized. So you don't have cameras where people feel supervised all the time on CCTV, for example. It's really completely still within their privacy. We don't need, as I said, any markers on the floor, which is a really good thing if you don't want to change anything or it looks scratched at some point of time. It's a plug-and-play solution, so basically after wiring everything, we also have just one button to click on the device to teach the background, and then you can already start with the solution. And additionally to measuring the distance, you can also measure the number of people within this area. And with this, I'm handing now to Tiberius.
Thank you, Tibor, for this impressive presentation of our distance guard. I will present you now our second product of our social distancing solutions of SICK, the people counter mounted directly on the door behind me. As you can see here, we are able to count people, also based on a LiDAR technology. But in this case, comparable to the distance guard, we are using a 3D LiDAR product. As you can see here, thanks to the 4 layers of the MS1000 hardware, we are able to identify the direction of movement correctly. So if the people going in or going out, it is easy to identify the direction. And also based on the technology, we only collect measurement points. So comparable to the distance guard, we have no any personal data, just a 3D point cloud, and the smart algorithm of our solution is looking for a combination of shoulder, head, shoulder. So it is a machine learning process behind where we can differentiate between people and objects, so we don't have any disruptions with other objects like people. And here on the next slide, you have also the GUI. Like the distance guard before, we have embedded software available. You can configure the settings for your needs, depending on the size of the door or depending on the situation where you are using the people counter. Here on the screen next to me, you can see the information collecting by the MS1000 people counter. The current occupancy of this area is 5 people. Here around with the camera team, the Tibor and myself, and the maximum number of this area is configured by 7. You can see the green arrow shows the feedback. Yeah, it is allowed to step in, more persons can come in, and information, whatever you want to give your guests or your customers to please wear the mouth, nose mask in these pandemic situations. If the maximum capacity is reached, the green arrow will change to a red stop sign, and now my colleagues will starting to walk around to see the people counter in action. And you can see here on the screen the current occupancy is changed to 4, and another people is going out. Now we have only 3 people left. 2 people are coming in, and it's no problem. We have no challenges to count 2 people simultaneously. And here we have one of our colleagues. He's going to the spa. This could be also a situation on your cruiser ship that they are going to spa or other different areas. And as you can see, the situation is now overcrowded. We have now 7 people inside, and the information to the guests will be shown up. The maximum number of people is exceed. Please wait in front of this area. And you can collect all this information without the connecting of different devices. So here you can see with our network connection capability, it is really easy to integrate the devices in your system, and you can supervise the situation in one place, for example in your board system, and you can use also the signal lamps with the digital outputs. And all this data are collected and stored on the device, so you have a statistic available to evaluate the situation aboard, for example, depending on events, and you can see how many people are inside during the day to control and to manage your employees perfectly to manage the situation. The areas of this people counter are huge. Yeah? You can use the people counter outside on the pool deck, you can use it for restaurants, also for the casino, or even for the passenger control on a port to control the situation perfectly. Now I want to sum up all these highlights. Yeah, the people counter based on the LiDAR technology is 100% anonymized, so we only collect measurement points to protect also the privacy rules. The counting accuracy based on our smart algorithm is over 98%, and with the machine learning process we differentiate people from other objects. The embedded software of the people counter is a plug-and-play solution, so you can use the device with an easy installation, and you have the statistics available for supervising the situation aboard. Many thanks for your attention of our social distancing on board session. Our 2 devices, people counter and distance guard. Now we are looking forward to your questions, and we want to give back to the main stage.
Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tibor. Thank you, Tiberius, for this great presentation and this live demonstration of such an important solution right now in this current Corona times. And we actually have a question here in the chat. So, what is exactly needed to implement the sensors on a ship?
Yeah, it depends on the solution, but MS 1000 have an Ethernet connection, so you can use a network cable to connect the device directly in the network system, or you can also use the people counter as a standalone solution, only with the digital outputs. It is running without any connection to the network. So you have 2 different options to use the people counter.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the one important thing is you only need to connect the device with a network. You don't need any additional hardware like an extra PC to balance everything out or to get some histograms. It's all coming directly from the device without any need for additional expenses.
Okay, thank you very much. And on the other question is, on how many doors can one specific system can be set up?
Yeah, we don't have any limitations in that case. We tested the performance of the people counter with more than 10 entrances and doors, and it was running perfectly.
Okay, so the last question. There are coming more and more questions in. If we don't ask your question right now, then we will come back to you later on. And for you, Tiberius, Tibor, is this people counter also mounted at the exit and synchronized to ensure that the number of people inside is within the limit?
Yes, that's the case. So you can define different important areas. So if you want to use the people counter on the exit of a cruiser ship, it will be collect all the data, and you can see the current number of people inside. And you don't even need the maximum number of person to supervise the number of people on a ship or on a predefined area.